This episode is brought to you by Capital One. Capital One's tech team isn't just talking about multi-agentic AI, they already deployed one. It's called Chat Concierge, and it's simplifying car shopping. Using self-reflection and layered reasoning with live API checks, it doesn't just help buyers find a car they love. It helps schedule a test drive, get pre-approved for financing, and estimate trade-in value. Advanced, intuitive, and deployed. That's how they stack. That's technology at Capital One.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my site softer?
Can I make my site firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. It's the Sleep Number biggest sale of the year. All beds on sale up to 50% off the limited edition smart bed. Plus free premium delivery with any smart bed and adjustable base. Ends Labor Day. All Sleep Number smart beds offer temperature solutions for your best sleep. Check it out at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com today.
You know what's wild? Most people are still overpaying for car insurance just because it's a pain to switch. That's why there's Jerry. Jerry is the only app that compares rates from over 50 insurers in minutes and helps you switch fast with no spam calls or hidden fees. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Before you renew your car insurance policy, do yourself a favor. Download the Jerry app or head to jerry.ai/acast.
Hi, this is Joe from Vanta. In today's digital world, compliance regulations are changing constantly, and earning customer trust has never mattered more. Vanta helps companies get compliant fast and stay secure with the most advanced AI, automation, and continuous monitoring out there. So whether you're a startup going for your first SOC 2 or ISO 27001, or a growing enterprise managing vendor risk, Vanta makes it quick, easy, and scalable. And I'm not just saying that because I work here. Get started at vanta.com.
This is the Daily Tech News for Tuesday, August 26, 2025. We tell you what you need to know, follow up on the context of those stories, and help each other understand.
Today, Google announced a big change to Android in an effort to make sideloading safer.
But does it? I'm Jason Howell.
I'm Tom Merritt.
Let's start with what you need to know with the big story. I mean, I have no doubt it makes it somewhat safer, so let's talk about it. Google plans to require all developers, even those distributing apps outside of the Play Store, to verify their identities. Now, Google says its aim is to increase accountability, protect users from bad apps and malware with the move, and you can see why that might be the case. In order to comply, developers actually have to submit a lot of information. They've got to give their legal name, their address, email, phone number, and that's all done within the new Android Developer Console update. Larger organizations are going to be required to submit a bit more. They have to submit their website address, their DUNS, which stands for Data Universal Numbering System. It's a unique 9-digit number that is used across the globe to identify businesses. So getting somewhat granular there. Rollout will begin in select countries starting next year. So this isn't happening immediately. It starts September 2026, global rollout throughout 2027. So you've got some time. It is worth noting that this does account for hobbyists and students is what I almost said, to avoid the $25 registration fee. So if you're, tinkering around with Android and you don't want to have to pay $25 every time you create a unique app, because you're learning how to do it or whatever the case may be, you won't have to pay that $25 registration fee to submit it to the Google Play Store. And personal information that's submitted is not published by Google as well. So that's really important to know. But the change has concerned some people, privacy advocates, about, and also users, I would say, and some developers about what constitutes an open platform when we're talking about Android. And I think things have changed a lot in the last handful of years. This is just one of many changes that seems to point to kind of Android becoming a little less open, a little less like, you do what you want, and that's the benefit, the beauty of the platform, a little more controlled, kind of like iOS.
Yeah. I mean, it's good that they're giving people time. I think the preview starts October and you could start enrolling in March, but you don't really have it rolled out until, like you said, next year or even 2 years from now. So they're giving folks time to get comfortable with it. So this is not a quote unquote sudden change. On the other hand, this is definitely one of those, what are your intentions? Because this on its own is not a bad thing, in my opinion. It's not a bad thing to say, hey, before we let something on our operating system, we want to make sure that it comes from a legitimate source. And they are not vetting these apps. That's the key. That's the difference between this Android developer console that they're creating and the Google Play console, where they actually review apps to make sure, well, before we put it in the store, we actually want to do our best to keep fraud out of it. This isn't about that. This is just saying, we just want to know you're a real person, that this isn't some kind of spam thing. So that comes from a good place. And I get that. On the other hand, as someone who has grown up, with the open operating system world, not even just open source, but like on Windows, I can install anything I want. On Mac OS, I can install anything I want as long as I hit that little checkbox, right? And so this does cause me to say, well, what if I create something and I just want to put it on my own Android device? Now I got to jump through hoops. I have to sign up or come up with some kind of jailbreak. And granted, this only applies to Google devices. This is Google's version of Android. This doesn't apply to other versions of Android out there. So they're not doing it in the open source version of Android, and then they couldn't. It wouldn't work. So like I said, it comes down to what you think Google's intentions are. If you think their intentions are good, then you're like, well, this isn't overly restrictive. I don't love it, but it has a good purpose. If you don't trust Google, you're like, oh, so you're putting another thing in the way of getting people on your platform. Which kind of doesn't make sense to me now that I say it out loud, because it's like, well, they're not collecting money for this one. And they're not gatekeeping in a sense that would benefit them. In fact, it costs them to do this, because they have to maintain the database and all of that. So I think this really is coming from we're just trying to cut down on spam. But your mileage may vary.
Which is not an insignificant threat. I actually checked in with Win Twitdao. She does DTNS, of course, with me and with you a couple of times a week. Also on Android Faithful, we'll be doing an episode tonight. I guarantee you we'll be talking about this to some degree. Yeah. And I wanted to get from her, because she, lives and breathes Android development, to kind of get her sense on this, from an openness perspective, from a jumping through hoops perspective. And I think maybe I was a little surprised with her answer. She said, with all the malware on the platform, Google has to do something to try and stem the tide. If you're going to create a commercial app, creating a business entity to protect yourself is not a bad thing, probably not the preferable thing, but there is more friction. This isn't the early days anymore, she said, which is, kind of true and kind of ties with what I was saying when I was kind of setting up this story, is that this isn't the first time that Google has said, hey, this whole openness thing that we've been on since the very beginning of Android, we're peeling it back a little bit. But they always have a reason for that. Often it has to do with safety and the security and the purity of the platform, blah, 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 blah. And so that's what Wynn is looking at here. She's also kind of comparing it against the Apple side of things, which ties in with what you were just saying. She says, for at least as long as when I was doing iOS somewhere around 2011, you generally will find yourself needing an Apple developer account. That's usually $99, generally $299 for enterprise. So I guess by comparison, this is different, but kind of probably achieves the same purpose. Yeah. Puts some sort of legitimacy behind the thing. What do you think?
I think it's comparing apples and Androids there, though, on the last point that Wynn made, because I get what she's saying, but the equivalent is paying the $25 to the Google Play Store. There is no equivalent to Apple saying, we will let you have an app on iOS without being in the Apple Store, right? Right. There is no side loading on Apple. So in that respect, Android's still more open than iOS. It's just requiring this one little piece of paper. It's requiring paperwork.
Yeah.
Without paper.
Yes, right. Digital
Paperless work.
Yes, paperless work. There you go. Yeah, interesting stuff. I know it'll be an interesting conversation, I think, tonight on Android Faithful as well. But I think, again, this topic has come up a lot in the last handful of years. There was an increase in restrictions on sideloading apps before this.
Yeah.
Certain, developers can block certain permissions, like the ability to sideload unofficial versions of their own files. A lot of other kind of tweaks that make people continue to question the true openness of Android as a platform. And you mentioned, how on PC and Mac, you can really install anything. You just have to check the little box or whatever. And I guess the main question I have about that is, why is it different on mobile versus something like a laptop or a desktop? Why are they treated differently?
Yeah.
Why does it seem like it's imperative on a mobile device, but on a laptop, it's not?
That is the question. A couple of answers that pass the sniff test for me are because you've got carriers involved. Historically, the operating system makers have more of a hand in what gets installed.
True.
Because, there's telecommunications security to deal with. Now, I already hear the eyebrows raising of like, well, with SIM swapping out there, the carriers might want to just mind their own store first. But I'm not saying carriers are requiring this. I'm saying there's just a history of locking down the operating system more because of that relationship. And I think there's also just the fact that you can, these are in more hands than a PC and can do more damage because of that. And so I think there's just a part of Google and Apple's approach that says, well, we can do it differently because this is a different device. And you don't have the long history of people saying, like, well, I've always been able to do this.
Yeah. All right. Well, like you said, early access program that begins 2 months from now, October 2025. That's early access. And then it's open to all developers starting in March 2026. But neither of those are like the required dates. That comes a little bit later. So there'll be time.
Yeah. And honestly, this won't affect that many people. That doesn't change the value of the principle of what we're talking about. But in reality, the vast majority of people who use Google's version of Android don't sideload things anyway, right?
Mm-hmm. Totally true.
So it might depress the number of developers who make things. But even then, most of them that people would run into them in the Google Play Store, in which case they have to do even more than this to get their app out there. So it might have I don't even want to call it a chilling effect. Might have a slight cooling effect on development.
Yeah. Might have to put on a long sleeve shirt instead of short sleeve shirt. That's it.
Exactly.
Though. Definitely not a parka.
Something you could roll up though, because that's
totally.
super cold. Yeah,
convertible.
DTNS is made possible. We get the shirts on our backs because of you, the listener. Big thanks to Mike Akins, Norm Fazekas, Jim Hart, and because we were off for Experiment Week this past week, new patrons: James, Whoopi, John, Patricia, Mark, Kevin, Steve L, and Anthony.
AW!
Picture this. You're in the garage, hands covered in grease, just finished up tuning your engine with a part you found on eBay. And you realize, you know what? I could also use new brakes. So where do you go next? Back to eBay. You can find anything there. It's unreal. Wipers, headlights, even cold air intakes. It's all there. And you've got eBay Guaranteed Fit. You order a part, and if it doesn't fit, send it back. Simple as that. Look, DIY fixes can be major. Doesn't matter if it's just maintenance or a major mod. You got it, especially when things are guaranteed to fit. So when you dive into your next car project, start with eBay. All the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love.
Hey there, it's Ryan Seacrest for Safeway. Now through August 28th, it's back to deals time where you can enjoy store-wide deals and earn 4 times points. Look for in-store tags to earn on eligible items from Lindor, Oreo, Lay's, Celsius, Cottonelle, and Snapple. Then clip the offer in the app for automatic event-long savings. Shop in-store or online for easy drive-up-and-go pickup or delivery. Subject to availability. Restrictions apply. Visit Safeway.com for more details.
This episode is brought to you by Capital One. Capital One's tech team isn't just talking about multi-agentic AI, they already deployed one. It's called Chat Concierge, and it's simplifying car shopping. Using self-reflection and layered reasoning with live API checks, it doesn't just help buyers find a car they love. It helps schedule a test drive, get pre-approved for financing, and estimate trade-in value. Advanced, intuitive, and deployed. That's how they stack. That's technology at Capital One.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my site softer?
Can I make my site firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. It's the Sleep Number biggest sale of the year. All beds on sale up to 50% off the limited edition smart bed. Plus free premium delivery with any smart bed and adjustable base. Ends Labor Day. All Sleep Number smart beds offer temperature solutions for your best sleep. Check it out at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com today.
Every idea starts with a problem. Warby Parker's was simple. Glasses are too expensive. So they set out to change that. By designing glasses in-house and selling directly to customers, they're able to offer prescription eyewear that's expertly crafted and unexpectedly affordable. Warby Parker glasses are made from premium materials like impact-resistant polycarbonate and custom acetate. And they start at just $95, including prescription lenses. Get glasses made from the good stuff. Stop by a Warby Parker store near you.
There's more we need to know today. Let's get right to the briefs.
Yes, Framework has launched the Laptop 16. It is out there. You can get it. And what's unique about it is it lets you upgrade the GPU with not only AMD 7700S, but also NVIDIA RTX 5070. Previously, Framework only shipped with AMD Radeon RX 7700S, but Framework has now redesigned the expansion bay to allow for an easy swap of graphics cards components that can take place using just 6 screws and 2 minutes of time. Unless you're me and you tend to strip screws, then it might take longer.
That's going to take longer for sure.
But for most people, 2 minutes of time. Also includes an updated cooling system with a new blade design to the fans, Honeywell thermal interface material, and buyers can now upgrade the module to improve graphics on the laptop instead of purchasing an entirely new machine with your laptop. Yeah, that's great. You can pre-order it for $1,499 without the new GPU and $2,199 if you want to let them not strip the screws first and install the GPU for you. From the beginning.
How tightly are you screwing the screws to strip them?
I'm just
so
bad
badly?
at it. I don't know what it is.
Is it like when it's going in or when it's coming out?
Yes.
All of the above. So I have not built a PC in a very long time. Definitely have not opened up a laptop in maybe ever. It's possible I've never opened up a laptop. I didn't really understand when I put this into the rundown, only when I was like researching how kind of a big deal this is to have the swappable GPU. That's a big move.
My history in both screw stripping and opening up laptops is mostly with RAM, because that was the thing you could replace easily, and hard drives. I've done a couple hard drives, but mostly with RAM. I never even considered that I would ever live in a world where you could swap out the GPU, so that's pretty great.
Nifty. U.S. telco AT&T will acquire spectrum licenses from EchoStar for around $23 billion in an all-cash deal that's giving AT&T around 50 megahertz of low and mid-band spectrum. EchoStar has been looking to avoid bankruptcy as it's addressing regulatory pressures that are related to its underused wireless spectrum. So, hey, what do you know? This makes it used. EchoStar announced it will continue to operate in the U.S. under the Boost brand as a hybrid mobile network operator. This deal is actually expected to close by mid next year, mid 2026, pending regulatory approval. And if it goes through, AT&T will gain significant ground in the U.S. market while EchoStar steps back from its own expansion efforts.
Yeah, I would say it's more significant for EchoStar than AT&T. Not to downplay getting more spectrum. That's going to help them for sure. But this is EchoStar bowing out of the race. And if you're not in the US, you might say, well, what do I care? And maybe you don't, but it is a significant change in the landscape There are now 3 operators in the U.S., and everybody's been trying to be the 4th, including cable companies like Spectrum. So this is one more competitor to become the 4th big carrier and increase competition there, bowing out of the race. They are the Dish TV people. They are also the Sling TV people. So anything that affects EchoStar, even on the Boost Mobile side, is affecting the prospects of those competitive services as well.
Is it the kind, I mean, is it, I don't know, other than what you've told me about EchoStar and kind of their corporate relationship, like as far as the value of the network or the bandwidth itself, does this give AT&T like any more of a step up and say like, hard to reach areas or anything along those lines? Or
it's hard to say. You're going to get varying opinions depending on who you ask, but it's going to increase their coverage. It's going to, give them more spectrum.
No doubt,
Spectrum is extremely valuable to have. And so this helps them with coverage, helps them future-proof things. And it essentially takes EchoStar out of the mobile operator space, except as an MVNO. So
Right. Interesting.
Yeah. You know what else is interesting? That banana image creator that's been making the buzz. You either are like, oh, I totally know what you're talking about, or like, I've never heard about this. But it doesn't matter anymore because now we know that it is, in fact, Google's launch of Gemini 2.5 Flash Image, an upgrade to its image model generator within the Gemini chatbot. So if you're in Gemini, you can now access it. Lets you make photo edits with simple text instructions. It aims to keep faces and details consistent and accurate. So when you say, like, can you change the shirt color? It doesn't suddenly make your face look like a cartoon. Social media buzz is focused on the fact that there was an anonymous model on LM Arena called Nano Banana that it turns out was, in fact, this new image editor. Google said it has added safeguards as well, like watermarking of the images. It won't protect you from being fooled by an image, but it will allow people to investigate and say, that was created with Gemini. Also rules against explicit images to stop abuse on the platform, which is for everything but Grok table stakes these days. Totally. The new feature is now live for all Gemini users, and I actually played around with it. I'm going to be showing off the results on our DTNS live stream later today. But it's pretty good. It's pretty impressive, I have to say.
Yeah, totally. I played around with it a little bit this morning too. I took a photo of both my dogs lying on the couch. Then I took an outdoor photo of me and I said, put us in the same photo sitting in front of the entrance of Six Flags.
Oh, wow.
And it did a great job. I mean, most of the signage, other than Six Flags is written properly. Everything else is like Flayby, Sixer Floggers, but honestly, it did a pretty darn good job of keeping the likeness of both of my dogs as well as me. Made Bronson a little bit smaller, so he's maybe more of a little puppy than he is his full size, 75-pound
him.
self. Yes. They've shrunk him a little bit, but hey, I was pretty impressed. And I will say it was pretty fast. Like
it's super fast. Yeah. I noticed that too. Yeah. Cause I went and I did ChatGPT and, Flux, a German company that's got a good reputation at this stuff. ChatGPT took a long time. Flux was pretty fast, but Gemini beat it. I did not have success with the merge with what I did.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It just couldn't put it in the right place. But I had it take, I said, I used a really simple prompt. I was like, take people out of the background, and it took the right people out of the background. It was like a big crowd scene kind of thing. So yeah, that was pretty impressive.
Pretty nifty. Samsung has officially announced the Galaxy Tab S10 Lite. It's a new mid-range tablet. It's designed to be the successor to last year's Tab S6 Lite. Now, it comes with a 10.9-inch 90 hertz refresh TFT LCD display. So you've got the high refresh Exynos 1380 chip. So you don't have the Snapdragon, 6 gigs of RAM. So a little bit less of RAM. And then Samsung is promising 7 years of software and security updates. Love that. Samsung always kind of reinforcing its commitment to 7 years, which is great. Whether these devices actually last 7 years, that time will tell. The new tablet starts at €399 if you're getting the Wi-Fi only model, €459 with 5G, and you can get it for purchase on September 5th, so not very long from now.
The takeaway here, there are other tablets than I've had, and
That's
Samsung
right.
makes one.
Yeah, and you know what? Samsung makes really great tablets. I have to say,
they're nice. They're nice.
As far as Android tablets are concerned, really, really great. They're some of my favorites.
Spotify is launching a direct messaging feature this week that lets you share songs, podcasts, audiobooks, and obviously messages without having to leave the app. Free and premium users will get access to the feature if you can prove you're 16 years of age or older. So free users getting this, which is nice.
Yeah.
All your shared items are kept inside a little inbox that you can get to from your user profile on mobile. Users can accept or block inbound requests. So they've got your basic controls on DMs. All the communication is encrypted as well. Spotify is also monitoring for harmful material and offering users the ability to opt out completely. If they're monitoring for harmful material and it's encrypted,
that's a good point.
It's not end-to-end encryption. So
so it's encrypted light.
I'll have to dig into that a little more to find out how are they monitoring for harmful material. But this isn't a place where you should be messaging sensitive things anyway. This is like, hey, check out this new song. So
he's come out. Yeah, Machine Gun Kelly has a new album out.
Yeah,
check
exactly.
it out. Just yesterday, Rob and I were talking about Spotify's kind of announcement that it was going to raise prices, but tied into the price raises was going to be new features. But then this is a new feature that's coming to everyone for free. So I don't know if this necessarily plays into that, but there you go. See, everybody wins.
Yay.
Last week, TikTok had announced, and we didn't have shows, so I'm pretty certain we didn't talk about it. Last week, TikTok announced its feature directed at letting its college users find and connect with each other on campus. Now, Instagram is offering an almost identical feature. They've had a testing process and kind of rumors of this feature maybe rolling out. Now we're finally getting it. Students in the U.S. can add their college or university profile after a verification step through Unidays, which both of these services have actually partnered with to confirm student status. Students can control visibility of their college details. Participation is fully optional, so it's not a forced thing or anything. Obviously, there are always concerns with something like this over digital privacy, and especially in this case, the ability of students to track each other online or even on campus. But just kind of reminds me of the original kind of thing behind Facebook, right?
Yes, I was thinking the exact same thing of like the day. I remember the day they announced like you don't have to be a university student to get Facebook anymore, and I went with my CNET address because you had to have an organization. But it's crazy how that works. Also, man, kids these days, they love to track each other.
They do. Oh, totally.
So if you're one of the olds like me and you're like, why would kids do this? They do. They love it. They're not going to resist this. This is a positive feature, apparently.
Yes, I witnessed that firsthand with my older daughter. My younger daughter doesn't have social media yet, but my older daughter, and I do my parental thing, and I'm like, well, here's what you need to know about it. She doesn't care. Like, she just wants to know where her friend is so that she can meet up and, get popcorn. Or, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a different way of thinking.
Do you get like all fatherly, like, in my day, we didn't even have phones. You just had to hope you met up at the movies. And
now she's old enough to actually roll her eyes at me. So,
Like, oh, good. So everything is working as it should.
Yes, exactly.
Finally, Wyze has launched its first 4K pan and tilt security camera, the Wyze Cam Pan V4. If you're not familiar, Wyze is spelled with a Z and a Y. W-Y-Z-E. The camera offers 360-degree panning and 180-degree tilting. Also features night vision, on-device powered tracking, so it can recognize people, pets, and vehicles. Works indoors and outdoors, has that IP65 dust and water resistance rating. Also includes a motion-activated spotlight, a siren for additional security. I hope that one doesn't go off by mistake. And improved two-way audio, supports Wi-Fi 6 at both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. Can store up to 512 gigabytes of continuous footage locally on an SD card, and is available now. The Wyze Cam Pan V4 will cost you $60.
Yeah, and hopefully you never have to say that product name out loud more than the one time you order it. $60, that's nothing. I mean, that's nothing for this. It's also Wyze. I've never had Wyze cameras. I have had a couple of Wyze door locks. I reviewed one, and then I got one to replace, and it was great until it wasn't. That's my review of the Wyze product. It's like, it's really great until it stops being great suddenly, and then it's like, oh, I guess I got to replace this thing then. And like that happened sooner than I wanted it to be.
Like every smartphone or smart home maker, it's had a data breach. So if you're like, didn't they have a data breach? The answer is, are you talking about a smart home maker? Then yes, probably. But I don't think they're significantly worse or better than anything else. And they're a Seattle-based company, if you're wondering.
Yep.
Hey, if you're like, no, you've got it all wrong about Wyze, they're awful/wonderful, maybe tell us in our Discord. We've got a Discord going on, which you can join by linking your Patreon account. Just become a patron at patreon.com/DTNS.
This episode is brought to you by Capital One. Capital One's tech team isn't just talking about multi-agentic AI. They already deployed one. It's called Chat Concierge, and it's simplifying car shopping. Using self-reflection and layered reasoning with live API checks, it doesn't just help buyers find a car they love. It helps schedule a test drive, get pre-approved for financing, and estimate trade-in value. Advanced, intuitive, and deployed. That's how they stack. That's technology at Capital One.
Hi, this is Joe from Vanta. In today's digital world, compliance regulations are changing constantly, and earning customer trust has never mattered more. Vanta helps companies get compliant fast and stay secure with the most advanced AI, automation, and continuous monitoring out there. So whether you're a startup going for your first SOC 2 or ISO 27001, or a growing enterprise managing vendor risk, Vanta makes it quick, easy, and scalable. And I'm not just saying that because I work here. Get started at Vanta.com.
We end every episode of DTNS with some shared wisdom. Today, Tim, the DBA from Buzz Out Loud days, sent us thoughts on Experiment Week.
Yeah, we got a lot of great thoughts from folks. And Tim was one of many people who just wrote up a slate of evaluations of each experiment, which is awesome. Because we love to hear your honest opinion, honest reviews, right? They're a big thing these days. So, Tim wrote, I was telling my wife just the other day how creative you all are. Experiment Week is another example of that superb creativity in action. Thank you. I believe I have written DTNS before about your terrific production values, but let me say again how much I value and appreciate how you make your podcasts. This is only the second time I have listened to every episode of Experiment Week. Looking forward to next year. And then Tim also had a breakdown of like what he thought of each episode. Some he liked, some he didn't. And that was helpful to hear his thoughts on what he liked and what he didn't, as to everybody else who wrote in. So thank you, Tim. And thank you everybody for discussing Experiment Week and letting us experiment. The experiments don't always work, but when they do, it's great. So that's why we do.
I've always really respected the fact that you do this on your network, that you make this a priority, because it's so easy in everything in life. It's so easy to just continue doing the same thing because that's the way it's been done. And, sometimes real actual progress, real great new ideas that you didn't see coming come out of breaking format, breaking the standard, and trying something new, and just kind of being courageous and brave enough to try something new with something that's very established. Like, you don't see that a lot. So I give you a huge pat on the back for even doing that. I think it's pretty respectable.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you saying so. I don't disagree with any of that. And the fact that the first Experiment Week is because I wanted a week off in August is just a testament to how your motivations can lead you to do something fun and different like that.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. That's awesome. What are you thinking about? If you have insight into a story, share it with us. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. Thanks to Tim the DBA for contributing to today's show. And thank you for being along for Daily Tech News Show. You can keep us in business, and it's really easy. All you got to do is become a patron. That's patreon.com/DTNS. See? Piece of cake. We'll see you tomorrow.
The DTNS family of podcasts, helping each other understand.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
This episode is brought to you by Capital One. Capital One's tech team isn't just talking about multi-agentic AI. They already deployed one. It's called Chat Concierge, and it's simplifying car shopping. Using self-reflection and layered reasoning with live API checks, it doesn't just help buyers find a car they love. It helps schedule a test drive, get pre-approved for financing, and estimate trade-in value. Advanced, intuitive, and deployed. That's how they stack. That's technology at Capital One.
Hey, it's Maya and Sim from the Girls That Invest podcast. If you are an IT or security pro, you know managing devices, identities, and applications can feel overwhelming and honestly risky. That's where Trellica by 1Password comes in. It helps conquer SaaS sprawl and shadow IT by discovering every app your team uses, managed or not. With pre-built app profiles, you can assess risk, manage access, and even optimize your software spend. Plus, it simplifies onboarding, offboarding, and compliance, all while cutting costs by eliminating unused licenses. Take the first step to better security for your team. Learn more at onepassword.com/special offer.